Hello to the two people watching this video, and welcome to my channel. This is the first in a series of game reviews that I would like to make for your viewing pleasure. To begin, I decided to review a game that has a bit of a shaky reputation. This game being Fortnite, and specifically, today I will be reviewing the Battle Royale game mode within Fortnite. Now for those of you who are not aware, Fortnite is a co-op, zombie survival, tower defense, open world, first-person shooter with an emphasis on skill perks and leveling up. Typically, there are two ways that people feel about Fortnite. Either they love it or they hate it, but there really isn't anyone who's in between. Why is that, you might ask? Well, the game is designed to be a free-to-play game. It has very slow progression, is extremely time-consuming to level up, and there is a loot box system similar to that of Overwatch's, but the loot boxes drop at an insanely low rate. And, of course, all of these problems could be theoretically fixed by just throwing your wallet at them. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's all fine and good. I mean, it's a free game, so stuff like this is supposed to be expected. And normally I would agree with you. But the problem with this game is that it is not a free game. In fact, depending on the version of the game that you buy, the price can range anywhere from $40 to $150. Now, you might make the argument that the game is eventually going to be a free-to-play game, and you would be right. The game specifically says that it will go free in 2018. But at that point, why would you even want to buy it? It makes no sense to me at all. But I digress. All of the things that I just talked about are only applied to the story mode of this game. But there's another game mode, and this game mode is free. This free version of the game has no zombies, no procedurally generated map, and no story. In short, this is simply a multiplayer PvP deathmatch. Today, I will be reviewing this game mode, and this game mode only. I will not be reviewing the story mode for a few reasons. One, it's not free yet, but it will be in the soon future, so why should I have to pay for it now when I can simply go and play it for free later? And two, it's already been reviewed many times. If you want to see a good review of the story mode, simply look it up on YouTube. I'm sure it won't be that hard to find. Now, I will be reviewing this game in 3 different categories. The first one being presentation. At first glance, how does the game present itself? Is it a cluttered mess, or is it nice and polished? The second category will be gameplay. Is it fun? Does it have good controls? Or is it a steaming pile of crap? And lastly, the third category will be replayability. Simply put, will I continue to return to the game, or will I put my controller down and never come back? So, without further ado, let's get into the review. When first launching Fortnite, you are greeted with a somewhat lengthy loading screen, sometimes taking upwards of a minute in my experience. But after that, you get a pretty simplistic opening screen, simply reading Fortnite. After that, you are presented with 2 options, the first one being Save the World, and the second one being Battle Royale. Upon clicking the first option, a screen pops up talking about the paid-for co-op game mode, and how it is currently available for purchase, but it will also go free sometime in 2018. Now, immediately, I have to give this game props for not even trying to hide the fact that there are still going to be microtransactions in the completed version of the game. Even though microtransactions are to be expected in a game like this, it's still really nice to see that the game is actually warning you about them instead of just trying to brush them underneath the rug. After backing out of that menu, you can click on the Battle Royale game mode. Here you will be taken to a lobby. Within this lobby, you can choose your game mode. You can either choose to play solo, or go with up to a group of 3 other people. But now, let's get into the actual game. Upon clicking play, you are put into a queue, where you have to wait for a server to open up. Thankfully though, this wait time is actually surprisingly quick, only having you wait about 10 or so seconds. Overall, I'd say the presentation of this game is really good. It has sleek and easy to read menus, a nice color palette, and it has complete openness of its microtransactions, which surprisingly aren't even crammed down your throat. In fact, I haven't even seen a single option for a microtransaction related thing in the game yet. This is why I am giving the game a 3 out of 3 for presentation. But now it's time to move on to the actual meat of the game, and that of course is the gameplay. The game begins with everyone flying in a bus above the map. Here you get to decide when you want to jump out of the bus. Once you jump out, you can skydive to just about anywhere nearby. The goal of the game, simply put, is to be the last man alive. You have to scavenge to find guns and ammo to protect yourself, or to kill others. But be careful, because there are 99 other players, and each of them is armed with their own weapon, ready to take you out. Once you decide where to land, your first priority should be to look for some weapons and ammo. But shooting isn't the only thing you can do in this game. You can build as well. What can you build, you might ask? Well, just about anything. If you want to build a sniper tower, like I am here in the footage that you're watching, you can go right on ahead and do that. Building, sadly, is probably the most useless aspect of this game, however, but it still is my favorite part of this game. I love to play around with Fortnite's simplistic and easy-to-use building mechanic. But sadly, there is a problem with using it. You see, player-built structures don't look anything like other structures in the game, so they are very easily distinguished from other nearby buildings. This makes them stick out like a sore thumb, and they are immediately huge targets for enemy rocket launchers and grenades. Sadly, you are honestly better off not even building anything at all. Another aspect of Fortnite Battle Royale is the storm system. On your map, you will see a white circle. The inside of this white circle is a safe zone where you cannot be hurt by the storm. But step outside of the circle, and you are greeted with instant and periodic damage to your health. The safe zone grows smaller as time goes on as well, forcing you to move around and not stay in one place for too long. One part of the gameplay I've barely touched on yet is the scavenging system. How the scavenging system in Fortnite works is actually really interesting, because it works like a high-risk, high-reward situation. Sure, you could find a little bit of loot and random shacks scattered about the map randomly, but where you are almost guaranteed to find a ton of weapons and loot are in the little cities and towns. The only problem here being that every other player also rushes to these areas, so almost immediately chaos will ensue within these towns. As for how you find this loot, it can be found in one of two ways. You can either find loot just laying around on the ground, or you can occasionally find treasure chests, which will drop multiple items, each of which vary in usefulness. Weapons aren't the only thing you can scavenge for, however, because you can also acquire wood, stone, and metal. These three resources help you build structures, and they all behave the exact same way. The only difference being that a wooden wall is weaker than a stone wall, which is weaker than a metal wall. But aside from the durability and appearances, all three of these resources make identical structures. The last thing I want to cover for gameplay is how well guns handle, or to be more specific, how well they don't handle. The guns in Fortnite handle terribly. They are extremely inaccurate, and sometimes it feels almost impossible to land even the easiest of shots. Now, some of you might take this as a bad thing, and I for one completely understand why. But I actually see this as a good thing. I feel as if the inaccuracy of the guns helps to make a gunfight feel more intense, since there is always a chance that you could miss. The intensity of a situation also increases once you realize that once you are dead, you're dead. And believe me, dying is something that you're going to be doing in this game a lot. Overall though, I'd honestly say that Fortnite is a really fun game, and it's definitely something that I'd play by myself or even with a group of friends. So, I rate the gameplay a 3 out of 4. The only reason I don't give it a 4 out of 4 is because there are some choices that honestly don't make a ton of sense to me. Like having a building system that encourages players to stay in one place, but then making the Eye of the Storm system, which completely negates any reason for the want or need of a base of operations. I honestly wish that there was another game mode that was more building focused, and I understand why the Eye of the Storm exists, because without it, games would drag on forever. But it still pains me to see the most fun aspect of this game go completely squandered. And now, lastly, it's time for me to talk about the replayability of this game. I am actually pretty happy to say that this game is extremely replayable, and the game is actually focused around that. How, you might ask? Well, loot always spawns in different locations, encouraging you to explore everywhere. Also, the bus will fly in from different angles on the map, forcing people to land in different areas. And lastly, the Eye of the Storm closes in on different spots of the map every time, forcing people to run to different areas each time they play. So, I'm going to give this game a 2 out of 3 for replayability. I would have given it a 3 out of 3, but the map never changes, and it can honestly get pretty bland seeing the same areas over and over again. But this game mode is still new, and I'm sure that new maps will eventually be implemented. For the time being, however, I am quite disappointed in the fact that there are not more varied places for you to visit. Overall, I'd give Fortnite's Battle Royale mode an 8 out of 10, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone that enjoys playing survival games, or anyone just looking to have a good time with a group of friends. This is honestly one of the best times I've had playing a game in a while, and the fact that the game is free makes it even better. I enjoyed this game mode so much I would even be willing to give the base game of Fortnite a try. The only reason I haven't bought it as of now is because it will go free eventually. If this video does well enough, and if you guys want to hear my review, I might buy the game early. So please, if that is something that you guys are interested in, let me know, and if not, I'll move on to reviewing something else. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next review.